Are you ready to see the beautiful new floral engravings press plates? Then you're in the right place. Welcome back to another Take Two with Therese at Altenew, and today I've got two beautiful cards to share with you. I'm using one of the new press plates from Altenew. They've got two sets that have been released this month, and this one is the floral engravings. It's the very large image, and it's stunning and perfect letterpress style. It actually comes with the sentiment as well, but I'm only going to be using the floral image today. I'm popping it onto the magnetic plate here, and I want to press it out twice. So I just simply counted the squares on the base itself to make sure that I was going to be able to flip my image around and get two impressions. Now, because my image is going to be right up to the very edge of my A2 cardstock, I did make sure to adhere my cardstock to the lid of the BetterPress using some rolled up low-tack tape on the back of my cotton panel. Now, this cotton panel was created specifically for the BetterPress, and they do have their own ink as well, which is a more archival style, which I've used in a previous video, and I'll link that in the description below just in case you missed that. And that's when I did some watercoloring. But today I want to be using the Altenew inks here. These are the fresh dye inks, and these are the original greens from Altenew, one of my all-time favorite sets, and they've released them in the new style of ink. I'm so excited. So I'm using the lightest color here. I thought it'd be fun to get that real letterpress look with this image and almost cover the whole front panel of the card. So I'm not sure if you noticed then, but I actually flipped the panel around, left the press plate in situ on the magnetic chase. As I ran it through the machine, I did it nice and slowly. I'm finding that I get a much better impression that way. So because I have the A2 size panel, it fits perfectly onto my side fold A2 card, and I just used some 1/2 inch double-sided tape from Altenew to do that. And I layered up one of the fancy hello sentiments here. I used about 3 or 4 layers of white cardstock and then topped it off with some jet black cardstock. I kept it very clean and simple in true letterpress style. Okay, so I want to take it a little step further for my second design. This time I decided I wanted to see how this cotton panel, how this cardstock held up with ink blending. So I've got the fresh dye inks again, and I'm using the frayed leaf over the whole background, and then I've come in with the forest glades, and I decided to sort of add almost a vignette, so a darker border around the edge. And I have to say it did blend much easier than I thought it would, because it's that real sort of thick, almost watercolor cardstock style. So I found that the blending actually turned out quite nice using the fresh dye inks on this cardstock. This time I'm getting all bold and I use the evergreen. Now watch here. This is when I actually flip the plate around. It has the magnetic snaps on each four corners, and that will hold it in place until it gets to the machine and lets it press down as you roll it through. You might notice there that I did miss a little section with ink, but I'll show you how I fix that in a moment. So for this technique, I could have left it just with the green on green and done this monochromatic look, but I wanted to take it a little step further, and I haven't coloured with pencils on this cardstock yet, so I did some really simple colouring today. These are the Altenew woodless colouring pencils, and I didn't do any blending or anything. I actually just used the pencils and almost got the grain of the paper. You can see a lot of texture through the pencils with the paper, and I didn't press hard. I just used, I think, about a couple of layers of each colour and basically mixed 2 of the purples together. I will list all of the colours that I've used and all of the products that I used in the description below, and also at the blog post there's always a lot more information if you head to the blog post, it's linked in the description below. Now, I want to know in the comments below if you actually like the look of pencils with that kind of rough finish, or if you prefer that real sort of smooth look, almost like what you get with your alcohol markers. I think it, kind of does come down to personal taste, but for me, it actually comes down to the day, how I'm feeling on the day. Sometimes I need it to be neat and smooth. Other times it's rough. And there was a lot of colouring here today, so I'm not going to share it all with you. I'm just going to show you a snippet of colouring the leaves and one of the flowers. And I did speed it up a little bit just so it didn't drag out. But literally, I just repeated this colouring throughout all of the flowers here. It did take a little while, but not as long as I thought. As a final touch, though, I did come in with the jet black pencil and just added a few little extra bits of shading in the corners where the petals met each other, and I think that did help. To fix this leaf here, I used one of the very fine liners from Altenew. I think it's the 005, and I know the original wasn't black, but it was near enough to black. By the time I coloured it, you'll never know, and the sentiment is going to sit over there as well. I splattered it with some ink splatters. On this cardstock, it did take longer for the ink to dry, so beware of that. And then I added a fancy Enjoy sentiment, which I layered up on some white cardstock as well. I didn't want to cover up the image too much. I'd taken time to colour it in. I didn't want to use a large sentiment over top. It would have looked too busy for me. So they're very similar cards today in the fact that they got the same basic design, but they look very different. Let me know also in the comments below which one's your favourite. For me, I gotta say, if you chose it, it's the hello card. I love the letterpress look. I love clean and simple. Thanks so much for joining me here today. Till next time, bye.